Morning, everyone. Today is Friday, October 6th, I think. And I'm making this video at my house. I won't have time in the clinic today. And I wanted to get this out. It's kind of building up information for you. Of course, we're going to go over those 8 gems today. And speaking of gems, let's start with what a pearl is. Have you ever heard that expression? A person's a pearl. That's a person with energy and the attention or the ability or the right attitude even and resources, and they want to learn, okay? And so the first things first is I only like teaching pearls. I only like reaching out to pearls. I have a lot of people reach out to me, and honestly I have to evaluate what's this person likely to do in the long term. Because I have only a finite amount of time and resources, unfortunately. So when I look at a person, whether or not, the most important to me, I think, is the willingness to learn. If they're willing to learn, and I guess the attitude is there too, you can't really have one without the other, then the resources becomes a lot less important to me because I have resources. I've got what they need, all right? And if you want to make progress, maybe your life is great, okay? Let's not assume. Your life could be great. But if you want to make progress because XYZ is not perfect in your life, and you're trying to feng shui everything internally, trying to feng shui up here and outside of your life, in your family, in your home, in your business, career, then become a pearl. Because if you're not a pearl, it makes it very difficult for when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, the teacher can disappear too. So just to let you know, I've run off plenty of students. And some of them I've even loved. And I can still run them off because there are rules of this stuff. All right. Now, before getting into the 8 gems, what I need you to understand is part of the multifaceted layer. Of course, we're going up and down the Fibonacci, right? But as we go down, we get more splits, more filters of ways to look at the world. And there are different laws governing on each level. It's like, think of it like a building, but in the top building, we only had one floor, or we only had one room, one big room. And then by the time we got to the bottom room, the bottom floor here, we've got 8, we've got 13, and it just keeps getting bigger, and the building just keeps getting taller. Well, we don't need to go super deep. We're only going to go down here into the next level. And on a basic level, that's our first type of multiverse. All right? Now, the other one that people like to talk about there was really 2, and they're similar. One is parallel. That's what we're going to talk about. And then there's lateral multiverses. As regards lateral multiverses, woulda, coulda, shoulda is one of those things that it only matters to me after I've already fixed which reality I've actualized. And that sounds really backwards, but if you think about it, when you're in one of those lateral multiverses that is not going well, you tend to not think about that. You tend to think, you get in bunker mode. And a lot of people, when they're in one of those, they're procrastinating and they're just constantly being beat up by the shifts of time. And I don't think that people have much opportunity in that mode to think about the lateral multiverses, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Mostly we think about woulda, coulda, shoulda when we made the right choice. And, well, I mean, that's also when people have regret. But assuming though, we know we just dodged a bullet, that's when we notice, like, oh, if I'd have done this, it would have led to that bad thing. Or I think near-death instances encourage people to think about how their choices can produce profoundly different experiences. Whether it's a car crash that could have been deadly if they hadn't worn the seatbelt, to whatever, Those kinds of things are important to think about. However, if you use Tao, though, and you move in concert, and you think about these two parallel universes, I think most of the time that's taken care of. So what are the two parallel universes? Ultimately, it boils down to this, yin and yang. Human mind and scheming mind, right? Versus mind of Tao or numinous mind or Christ-like mind. The path that is activated. And there's actually a neuron in your head that they have found. And this is the mysterious path, right? Taoism's been talking about it forever. What's the mysterious path? It can't be found inside the body, but it can't be found outside it either. Thus, it's mysterious. The claustrum neuron, if you want to look it up, claustrum, and it is a switch you need to have on. Healing won't work. Luck changing won't work. You can go to diviners and feng shui experts and psychics, and nobody will be able to fix your bad luck. And you know when you're on the bad, if you're in the bad parallel, everything actualized, it seems like it's always twisted in the wrong way. It never turns out the way you want. Even when you seem to get good luck, it somehow turns sour. That's because you're in the wrong train track. And you're just heading that way. Now, I wrote down here, I want to discuss the mind map. I just briefly want to mention that the teaching of the mind map enables us to quickly switch tracks. But at the very heart and root, you have to have that switch on to be able to use the mind map in the first place. Because before long, you'll be so far off the mind map on the bottom left of the grid, you won't even be able to tell. You won't even be able to know. So, for sure, know the mind map. For sure, think about your parallel universes and what choices you make. Don't cross the street while reading text. You might be hit by a car that you could have seen coming. But that happened to a woman while I was in college, and that was dumb phones days. She was just reading regular text. The main thing is these two parallel universes. Try to choose the one that's going to work. Now, that yin-yang then translates down into our 8 gems. Because all of the 8 laws, if you look at the trigrams, they're all composed of just yin and yang. So it's the variations of these forces, again, that is actually producing. It's producing heaven and earth. It's producing man. It's producing the 5 phases, and it's producing these 8 laws. And the goal, according to the I Ching, is to go back to subconsciously obeying the laws of God. So subconsciously obeying would mean that you are in the right train track, that you are on the path that you need to be on. You are constantly revealing your Ming. It may not look the way you want it to look. That's not how Ming works. Your destiny isn't... it isn't a box in a treasure room and you unlock the room and it's just all this light coming from it. That's not how Ming is. Ming is within you, and if you have brightness that shines forward and it illuminates your way, your own Tao, right? But you need to have De. So these 8 laws, remember, they correspond to the trigrams, which are heaven, wind, river, mountain, earth, thunder, fire, lake. That's it. So the 8 laws, there are scientific names for them. You've got causality and evolution or flux, relativity, conservation, vibration, rotation, polarity, and resonance. Of them, the way that I teach is that the resonance is the most important one, because that whole your vibe attracts your tribe, as kitschy as that is, that's true. And it also illustrates, the law of resonance illustrates the problem that's going on in America. You see there's too many different resonances being put into a closed container. Whenever that happens, you're going to get a buildup of toxicity. And when you have a buildup of toxicity, bad things are going to come with that. And eventually it has to erupt out, and nature will find a way to pop that boil. So subconsciously obeying the laws of God means mixing and mingling all of these, because they all have a relationship. And I do have a diagram for anybody that emails me at ramon@bluelotushealth.com. I'll pass you a diagram for how the 8 laws have an integral relationship, just like the 5 phases. And it has also not only the 5 elements, but it has the elements from the Greek and Indian system in them, so that you can see how they all blend together. Remember, these laws are always in relation to each other. There's always a yin and yang at this point, because we're after consciousness creation. And after God, you have consciousness creation. So 0, 1, 1, then you start getting the consciousness split, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. And so there's always in relation to each other. So they have profound, when you learn the first level, you just learn individual ones. And then you start learning the others. And how did I learn about these? You know, my investment in the secret sciences of Shaolin Kung Fu is how I was able to go. When I was an underbelt, I couldn't even remember the English names of the Chinese ones, let alone what the diagrams were or where they were on the Tai Chi 2. And then, you know, by the time I was, you know, early black belt, but middle, you know, the way. And that's when I started to read the Taoist I Ching with a fervor over and over and over. And I just developed from there. So once again, the same story. Eliminating dukkha enables you to get further in your studies. And sometimes there's no help for it, but just to study hard and to force yourself to sit down and look at these diagrams and to understand what they really represent. I knew that I had, this was before I was an acupuncturist, I knew I had passed into another level with, like, say, the 5 elements coming up the building, right? When I was at a rest stop in California and all looked down and there were 5 stones of the 5 phase colors. And so the universe was giving me a graduation gift of a sort. And it's going to be that way with these laws. You're going to have an opportunity to master each of the laws. If you become obsessed in one lifetime, that's fine. You know, there's no big deal. If you join a religion right now and the religion's obsession is the karma and causality, then, you know, do that. You know, I have friends and they're obsessed with dharma. And there's nothing wrong with being obsessed with purpose and karma and things like that. And then there's other people, all they want to do is study science. They're into quantum physics, or they're into relativity, or they're into Newtonian mechanics. And then there's people who all they want to study is Taoism, yin-yang. And if that happens, then they're studying a part of the Tai Chi 2, but you can't see the whole thing from being within. You got to step back and you got to look at all the 8 and how they relate to each other. So try that out. That's your natural magic video for the day. You notice we're emphasizing less the magic as we go forward, because it's about action, it's about behavior, it's about practicality, and then let the magic do its own. It is a time right now, by the way, of great amounts of Sha Qi or killing Qi. You know, spend time with your loved ones. Really spend time appreciating what you have, because after all, we are blessed. And if you don't feel blessed right now, I would extend you a digital prayer here and hope that you do start to see your life as blessed, because it is. And God bless, and you have a great Friday and a great weekend. I'll be on the road, of course, photographing more Kentucky locations. I'll see you next week.